So this is Stonehenge in Wiltshire, England. Radiocarbon dating of the site and the surrounding earth mounds states that the site was built in 3100 BC. Each stone is about 13 feet high and 7 feet wide, and each stone weighs 25 tons. And I always say that 3100 BC is a very important time period because it's the very same year that the Egyptians recorded their first battles with the cave beasts. And it's also the very same time frame when the Egyptians recorded the dividing of the land. And this marks the actual literal separation of the continents of Africa and the Americas. And then we have what is known as Stonehenge Boy. Stonehenge Boy is a young black male who was found buried at Stonehenge in Europe. And radiocarbon dating revealed that he was buried in 1500 BC. So that's 3,500 years ago. And DNA analysis revealed that he was from the Mediterranean region in Africa. And here is the original Stonehenge, located in the Sahara region of Africa, along the Mediterranean. And the Stonehenge that can be found in Africa dates back to 7,000 years ago. So it's 2,000 years older than the Stonehenge that can be found in Europe. So we know that the African people from the Mediterranean region built the first Stonehenge in Africa 7,000 years ago. And the same African people built a similar Stonehenge structure in Europe 5,000 years ago. And the African boy buried at Stonehenge in Europe is from the same region of Africa in the Mediterranean that the first Stonehenge structure was built in Africa by the African people. So this proves not only that African people built Stonehenge in Europe, but it proves more importantly that the African people were in Europe 5,000 years ago. In fact, if you want to go back even further, the oldest known remains found in Europe, the DNA analysis of those remains revealed that they were that of a black man of African descent. The remains of this African man found in Europe date back to 35,000 years ago. So black people weren't just in Europe 5,000 years ago, they were here 35,000 years ago. So it was African people who built Stonehenge in Europe 5,000 years ago, the same African people who built Stonehenge in Africa 7,000 years ago. So the Moors didn't just show up in 700 AD, as many scholars will tell us, but in fact, the Moors and black people in general were already inhabiting and ruling Europe for 35,000 years, prior to the arrival of the cave beast.